Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? In my Broner versus Maidana video, I opened up the video telling you guys that every now and then I get treated with what I consider an easy prediction, an easy fight to call, right? And as far as I'm concerned, the Broner versus Maidana fight is a perfect example. It is a very easy fight to call if you really know about boxing. And there's a lot of you guys out there who do, and then there's some of you guys who don't. So some of you guys know what I'm talking about if you understand the sweet science. Broner versus Maidana is a typical smart fighter versus dumb fighter. Brains versus brawn. Of course, the dumb fighter always has a chance of closing his eyes and just throwing a punch and opening his eyes and seeing his opponent on the ground out for the count. That's always a possibility. Like there's a possibility to get struck by lightning, right? So that fight in particular is what I consider an easy prediction. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because this fight, on the other hand, Austin Trout versus Trout Lara, this is more of a difficult fight to call, in my opinion, okay? It's a little tougher of a prediction to make as far as I'm concerned, all right? Because this is not dumb fighter versus smart fighter. This is not brains versus brawn, all right? Like Marcos Maidana versus Broner. This is not good boxer with no defense versus good boxer with great defense, natural athleticism, etc., like Donaire versus Rigo. This is not good boxer only versus good boxer with natural athleticism, head movement, all different types of things working for him, like Marquez versus Bradley. This is different. This is smart boxer versus smart boxer. This is boxer with good defense versus boxer with good defense. Okay? So, in a situation like this, I base my prediction mainly off of all of the attributes, not just the main attributes that I would normally base a fight off, which is, the smart versus dumb, good defense versus no defense or lack of defense. I base this on all of the attributes, the speed, power, chin, etc. All right, so what we're going to do when it comes to me breaking this fight down is we're going to look at all of the attributes in every single category. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start with speed. Now, when it comes to speed, I give that edge to Trout and Lara. Let me tell you why. When I watched the Trout versus Canelo fight, I was very surprised how slow Canelo made Austin Trout look. I had thought up until that point that Trout was just as quick as Canelo was, but that wasn't the case when he was in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. And because of that, I see him as not having the type of speed that Trout and Lara has. All right? Let's go ahead and move on to the next category. So the next category would be inside fighting. When it comes to inside fighting, I give that edge to Austin Trout. Now, when I watched Lara fight against Carlos Molina, I was very shocked. And I remember watching it, I was very shocked to see Molina constantly going in the inside on Lara, and Lara had no answers. I mean, all he was doing was blocking. He wasn't trying to fight Carlos Molina in the inside at all. He had no inside game. It's like he did not know what to do once Molina got in the inside. Every now and then he would tie up Molina, but most of the time he would just stand there and he would just block like he was clueless. All right. On the other hand, and I revert back to the Canelo versus Trout fight. When Trout was fighting against Canelo, as those rounds progressed, when it came to Canelo Alvarez, I almost seen somewhat of a little bit of a submission when it came to Canelo Alvarez when Trout was trying to push the envelope and fight on the inside with Canelo Alvarez. Like I said, if you go back and you watch that fight in the later rounds, Canelo Alvarez, he would start to tie up Trout a lot of times that Trout tried to get in the inside. He would either try to tie him up or he would move away, back up. Canelo Alvarez was uncomfortable while Austin Trout was comfortable on the inside. And I felt Lara didn't do as good as he should have done on the inside against Angulo as well. A seasoned, athletic, natural ability, defensive type fighter like Lara should not have got caught so easy against a slow, flat-footed fighter like Angulo. Now, don't get me wrong. Lara, he did his thing. I mean, he made Angulo quit, and he was dominating the fight, but he should not have gotten caught 2 times with clean shots that was good enough to knock him down. Okay, so once again, that edge goes to Austin Trout when it comes to inside fighting. Now let's go ahead and combine 2 categories into one. That's chin and heart. When it comes to chin and heart, I have to call this one even. I call this one even. Let's go ahead and start with the, let's go back to the Canelo fight again against Trout. As you've seen, Trout, he got dropped in the 6th round with a clean left or right hand, I should say. And he got up, and surprisingly, Austin Trout, he won the rest of that round. Then he came back in round 7, and he won round 7. Okay, so that shows tremendous heart to me. And then you think about the counter uppercuts that Austin Trout got caught with. I mean, he got caught with some serious uppercuts later on in that fight against Canelo Alvarez, and he didn't go anywhere. He kept fighting. He kept pressing Canelo. So, you know, that's the reason why I say he has a chin and he has heart. Now, let's go to Lara. Now, Lara, for the first time, I believe it was the first time, he was dropped against Angulo. Now, I could be wrong if that was the first time, but let's just say that was the most vicious, if it wasn't the first time, knockdown that he encountered against Angulo. Now, it was interesting because the way Lara got caught, he got caught with a real clean shot. Both times he got knocked down. And it was so clean, the way he fell to the ground, it almost looked like Lara would be out for the count. But I was impressed because Lara, he jumped right back up, okay? He jumped right back up. He was right back into the fight. It took him, you know, I think one of the knockdowns, it took him a while to get his head right. But what was more impressive, I believe, is he came back and he forced Angulo to quit. Like I told you before in another video, once again, it was the tough, aggressive bully that was willing to quit before the quote-unquote reluctant defensive fighter would quit. All right? You would have thought that Lara would have quit after getting knocked down twice viciously, but no, it was the aggressive bully that quit. And throughout all the fights that I've watched, at least 80% of the time, it always is the bully that quits before it's the slick boxer or the defensive boxer, whatever you want to call him, that quits. Now let's go into the next category. The next category would be defense. Defense, defense, defense. When it comes to this category, once again, I have to call this one even. They both have a good defense. You know, I'm not saying they have a perfect defense, but they both have a very good defense. So I'm just going to leave that at that. Now let's go to, this will be my final category. The last but not least category is adversity. Okay? Now this is a tough one. You know, I started to say this one was even, but I'm going to give just a real slight edge to Austin Trout. And the reason why I say that is because I believe that Austin Trout could do a little bit more. He can do more things in the ring than Erislandy Lara can. Like I said, adversity will be a combination of all of these attributes. You know, fighting on the inside, being able to punch with more than just one hand, not just being a left-handed, you know, puncher. Remember, both of these guys are southpaws. But when it comes to Lara, I feel that Lara, he relies on his left hand too much. When you watch Austin Trout fight, he doesn't look like a left-hand fighter to me. You know, because the majority of left-hand fighters, that's what they're mainly banking on, is landing that left hand. Okay, you take Manny Pacquiao, for example. That was always, you know, his favorite punch. All right. But like I said, when it comes to Austin Trout, he's a left-hand fighter, and I almost forgot he was a left-hand fighter because he does so many other things that makes him almost look conventional to me. He uses the right hook. He uses the uppercuts, the right uppercut, the left uppercut. He goes to the body. Like I said, he fights on the inside. He knows how to, you know, come forward. He can move back, lateral. He can pretty much do more things. Like I said, Lara is very naturally gifted, but he relies more on his left hand. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a vicious left hand that he has, but he relies on it more. So adversity, I would have to go with Austin Trout. All right. So let me go ahead and get into this prediction, guys. Now, before I get into this prediction, I'm just letting you guys know I've been on a very long winning prediction streak. And this could very well be the end of my streak because, like I said, this is a very, very evenly matched. And I could see this fight playing out a couple different ways. All right. Just real briefly, I could see this fight playing out where Lara, he can be quick on his feet and he can make Austin Trout look a little slow on his feet. And he could just move around the ring constantly, peppering Austin Trout with those quick left hands and outboxing Austin Trout. But I don't believe that's the way it's going to play out. If I'm forced to bet, I don't believe that's the way it'll play out. I believe that Austin Trout will be too aggressive for Trout Lara. I believe if Austin Trout is smart, then Austin Trout should know, like I know, that Trout Lara is uncomfortable on the inside, and I believe that Austin Trout, because of that, he will push the envelope. He will force an inside fight. I believe he should be able to cut the ring off and pin Lara to the ropes every now and then. I think that Austin Trout will be able to outwork Trout Lara throughout this fight. So that's the way I'm calling this fight, guys. Like I said, very, very competitive, evenly matched fight. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't like to do a prediction video unless I know at least 80% for sure who should win the fight. All right? 80% or more. And the key word is should. I say should because, like I said, this is boxing. So one punch can change everything. That's why you guys may have noticed last weekend when we had the 3 fights, Mikey Garcia, Andrade, and Nonito Donaire, I did prediction breakdown videos on 2 of those fights, but I didn't do one for the Garcia versus Martinez fight, and that was by design. The reason why I didn't do it because I felt that fight was too much of a toss-up. Now, I know the casual fan and the media, they looked at it as a blowout for Garcia, but that was mainly just because Garcia was who he was, and Martinez wasn't really known, and Garcia was being pushed to be the star, okay? But me, I know by looking at boxing, by looking at Garcia's flaws, by looking at the advantages that Martinez had showed previously, I looked at that fight as a very, very close, toss-up type fight. So that's the reason why I stayed out of that one, and I didn't do a prediction video on that on that fight in particular. All right? So nevertheless, this is the way I have this fight going, guys. I'm picking Austin Trout to outbox Lara. I don't think it will be a knockout. I think it will be an aggressive chess match. Like I said, if Austin Trout is smart, then he should know that Lara's biggest weakness is he has no inside game. So as long as Austin Trout takes this fight to the inside and forces Lara to trade punches, I think he will outwork Trout Lara. All right, guys? So that's how I'm calling it. Also, a lot of you guys were asking me if I had a Twitter account, and I didn't have one before. I just opened up one recently, and mainly I opened it up because Google Plus, like I told you guys before, has disabled me from responding to messages, posting messages on other videos, etc. So you guys can follow me at Dante's Boxing. Apparently Dante's Boxing Nation was too long of a title for Twitter, so I had to settle for Dante's Boxing. Now, I'm really, really new to this Twitter shit. I barely know how to use it. I was reading messages earlier, this guy at that. So it'll take me a couple days to get used to it. But basically, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. You guys want to go ahead and send me messages and all of that, and it's all good. So I'll go ahead and leave it at that. I'll also put my Twitter username in the description box, and I'll catch up with you guys. I'm on to the next one.